Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm going to do a video today where I talk about all the guitars that I've ever owned. Why? Because I feel like it. This might not be the most exciting video because I obviously don't have all 30 plus of these guitars to kind of show you. Um, but nevertheless, I thought it would be a fun thing. I've owned a lot of guitars. I think I just did a video. I kind of mentioned that guitars can kind of come and go in my life for various reasons, but what the hell? Let's do it. So let's start. I got this cheat sheet here, by the way. So if you see me looking up, that's what I'm doing. So my very first guitar was a Washburn Black Stratocaster copy. And I think I got this in 2005, so 17 years ago. Wow, I've been playing for a while. Um, it was the very first guitar I got. I had no clue how to play guitar. I started on piano. As a matter of fact, when I was growing up, my parents told me that you have to do something extracurricular. You can't just like sit around and play video games, unfortunately. But you can either do sports or music. Well, when I was a kid, there was no piano and no guitar in the band, right, in school. So those were the only two instruments I was really interested in. So I said, well, I guess I got to do sports. So I played baseball. Now, if you look at me, I don't look like a sports guy, and obviously that didn't really work out. But I did play baseball for a number of years and not in high school, but all the way up through middle school. Up to high school rather. And then I started playing piano. I don't remember how old I was, but kind of young. Like I might have been like 8 or 9 years old. And I played it for a while and it just didn't work for me. And I wanted to play guitar. So I got a black Strat, this kind of Washburn thing. And I learned on it and I started taking lessons and whatnot. And this guitar was terrible. It had dead frets on it. It was just a piece of junk. So I eventually upgraded to my second guitar, a Les Paul Special Black. That's Epiphone, not a Gibson. Very cheap. They still make this guitar. I checked it out. I don't know if it's exactly the same as it used to be. This was also in 2005, so I got another guitar pretty quick because the first one I got was just so bad. My teacher said like this guitar is like a hunk of junk. It really was probably like a $75 guitar that you would buy from Walmart or something. It was almost unplayable. So I got this another cheap guitar like 150 bucks or something like that, but I got this Les Paul Epiphone Les Paul thing with two humbuckers, and I got a little practice amp. I don't remember what my practice amp was, but I got that, and I played that for a while, and then I want to say a year later I upgraded again because not to toot my own horn, but I did progress pretty quickly when I was younger. So I went from having no concept of how to play the guitar to playing like Metallica and Rush within a year. Not perfectly, obviously. I was still a little kid, but I needed something a little bit better. And because I was playing rock and metal and stuff, I wanted something kind of fast. And I was kind of, at the time, I think I had actually started to get into Dream Theater and stuff like that. I was around that age, where music started to really open up to me, preteen kind of thing, teen. So I got an Ibanez. And I got an Ibanez SA160. I had to look this model number up, and I'm pretty sure that this is what it is. I don't remember, but SA160 and about 2006. And it was this purple guitar, kind of like a burgundy purple color. Actually, let me show you. Not quite unlike my Yamaha Pacifica, which I showed off my other video. You see how this guitar has like this deep burgundy color, kind of almost like a wine red color. They call it root beer. It's not very brown to me. It's this beautiful deep port red color. Kind of had that color. But if you know what the Ibanez S series looks like, it was basically the cheapest version of that. Another guitar with humbuckers, so you see I'm playing humbuckers a lot, right? And that had a very, very high radius fretboard, so it was very flat, fast playing. And I played that guitar a lot. I played it in school, and I played it at little concerts and stuff. And I had formed, little bands here and there with my friends. We were terrible, but we were jamming. And I played that guitar a lot. Me and my friends, I had two friends who, one was a bassist and one was a drummer. And we would just go over and just fucking jam, man, for hours as kids. It wasn't good jamming, but whatever. So that was my third guitar, and I really liked that one. It was a fun guitar, and it was also pretty cheap. My fourth guitar, I also got in 2006, and it was an acoustic of a brand I don't know. Um, my cousin gave it to me. It was his for a while. My cousin played guitar a little bit, for fun as well as a hobby. My cousin was like a decade older than me, but yeah, he gave it to me. And he said, you don't have an acoustic, you're gonna want one. Here you go. And I don't think I ever changed the strings on it, and I don't think that the strings were ever changed on it. The strings were like black, that those. It looked like an old pre-war Gibson, but it wasn't a Gibson. It was like a hunk of junk little starter guitar. But it was cool for me to have an acoustic because, again, at the time I was really into Russian stuff, and I thought, oh, cool, I can play Closer to the Heart now and stuff like that. So that was my fourth guitar. I don't know what the brand was. As a matter of fact, I distinctly remember that on the headstock, the brand was colored out with a black Sharpie. So I don't know. But I did play that guitar a lot, and I would put it in open D tuning, and I would jam out. So it wasn't like a giggable guitar, but I had a lot of fun with it. My next guitar was an Ibanez, another Ibanez, acoustic, a 12 string, also given to me by my cousin. I don't know what the model number was. I couldn't figure this out. I tried to look some of these up, but I just couldn't figure out what it was. Also 2006, but there was this Ibanez 12 string, a cheaper one. I want to say it was like 175, and it was around that time period. My cousin actually, as a matter of fact, the store that I took guitar lessons from had that acoustic there, and it was $175, I think. And my cousin, who would occasionally go to my lessons with me to check out the store and stuff, saw it and he bought it and he gave it to me. Not even for my birthday or anything, just as a gift, which I thought was crazy. Now I think, okay, well, that was $175, but even now, that's $175 just as a gift. That's a lot of money still to me. So that was really cool, and I played the hell out of that thing, having that 12 string. And as a matter of fact, I played that 12 string a lot, even into my pro career. It was cheap, like I said. It was a composite guitar. It wasn't solid wood or anything, but it was set up really well. It played really well, and it felt good to play. So I never upgraded to another 12 string because I really liked it. It didn't have a preamp or anything. It was just acoustic. But I had played years after I got it. I had played some pro gigs that called for 12 string, and I thought, I'm just going to bring this thing in and see how it works. And, they mic'd it, and it actually worked pretty well. And as I said, as a matter of fact, I have never got another 12 string. I'd like to get it like an Eastman solid wood 12 string in the future. But that's something I don't own another 12 string. I don't have that guitar anymore, but yeah, that was a good one. Next is my first pro guitar, and this was in 2007. This was a Paul Reed Smith Custom 22. This was an SE student edition, so it wasn't one of the core models or whatever. And it was a Cherry Sunburst. So if you look up Paul Reed Smith S Custom 22 Cherry Sunburst, you'll probably see my exact guitar. It was really good, really, really good. I want to say it was $400. I think it was $500 at the time, which is funny because, of course, those guitars are not $500 now. But, of course, they have upgraded. They're not exactly the same. It was a flat top. It had no carve to it, and it had two knobs. It had a tone, a volume, and a three-way switch. It didn't have... I think the newer ones have four knobs or something, kind of more of the, the Gibson Les Paul style, configuration. But... yeah, it played really well. It was so comfortable to play. The pickups were pretty good. It didn't have locking tuners, but yeah, it was pretty good. And I played that one pro for a while too, all the way from 2007 to like 5 or 6 years ago, where I was playing it with a band, and I played it out a couple times, and it was good. And as you're seeing this list go down, you're noticing it's mostly humbuckers, right? So my formation, as a guitarist, was on humbuckers, and I played it a lot, because I played a lot of rock music back then, and I loved it. But then you're going to see it gets more and more single coily. So that was the Paul Reed Smith. Then I got a Gibson ES335. I didn't own this guitar. There's two on here I didn't own, but I'm gonna a couple I didn't own, but I'm gonna list them anyways because this Gibson ES335 was 2007. That is when I started going to high school in 2007. Yeah, I'm a little bit younger. Um, but my high school was extremely small. Like my graduating class in 12th grade had like 88 kids or something, so it was small. But the jazz program was really, really good. We had a combo of like 7 or 8 kids, and it was a really good program. And as a matter of fact, when I went to college, I took some jazz classes, and the guy who taught them was a legit like local jazz guy, so he was really good. But we were learning baby's first jazz in college, and when I got to college, I was just like, "Whoa, this is like kid stuff," because we really in high school we went hard. So my freshman year of high school, it was a shock to me because I was like lost. Like I barely read music at that point in time. And it was like we were doing like intense ear training of intervals, and the teacher would go, "What chord is that? Is that augmented or diminished, or half or whole diminished?" Like stuff like that. But anyways, my point is that they had a Gibson ES335, and it was at the time. I remember they just bought it. It was $3,000, so it was like a custom model or a really good one. And I'm sure that that guitar would be worth a lot of money now. But it played pretty well. It actually had some build quality issues that we never could convince our teacher to like take it to a luthier or something, because he was just he didn't know. He was just like, it's a $3,000 guitar, what do you mean it has issues? But it actually had build quality issues, which now as I'm older and I'm finding out about Gibson's all their nonsense and stuff. They went bankrupt in 2018, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. It was kind of shocking, but it still played well and it sounded great. So I played that guitar for 4 years, and during that 4 years, I was the only person that touched that guitar. It was in a locker that had a padlock on it. Me and the teacher were the only people that knew the combo. So I'm putting that on this list because I am the only person that touched that for years. The next guitar is a Yamaha SA500, which is much cheaper guitar, but also kind of an ES335 style guitar, a black one. I'm just putting that up there because I also played that. It was the backup guitar, and I would occasionally take that out and play it if we were going somewhere and I didn't feel like taking the Gibson. I also played my Paul Reed Smith in high school too. My teacher was kind of a traditional jazz guy, so he was always like, "Don't play that thing, play the Gibson." But we would play like like Jocko, and we'd play some Weather Report. We played Steely Dan a couple times, and I would take the Paul Reed Smith out to play that. So that's why I put those on there. Also around this time, about 2010, is when I started doing pro gigs. Still in high school, but I started taking paid gigs. I say pro, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was gigging a lot in high school nonetheless because I started enjoying it. And I bought a Dean 6-string banjo in 2010 because I was taking gigs that called for banjo. So I just wanted a banjo sound, and I picked that one up for like $350. I got it set up really well, and it played great, and I used it for a long time. Don't have it anymore. My next guitar was in 2011, and it was a Gibson Les Paul Studio. My parents actually bought me this guitar. Now, I sound a little ungrateful saying this, but my parents did know they wanted to do something nice for me, so they went out and just bought me a guitar. I never touched it, anything, and it had a lot of issues. Actually, going again on Gibson's quality control, it wasn't very good. It had bad frets. It had dead frets on it. It had a warped neck. The nut was cut improperly. The only thing I liked about it was the scale length and the color. It was wine red and it was pretty. It had gold hardware too. So I played that for like a year. It didn't work out, and I got a different guitar. But I did play it on a couple gigs, pit gigs. I was starting to do musical theater, and it worked pretty well. But it wasn't for me. It wasn't a great guitar. But it's cool that they bought that for me. I can't be mad about that. So my next guitar was a Fender made in Mexico Strat. It was an HSS. It was candy red burst. So it was, if you watch my video from yesterday with that Squire, it was kind of like that, but it was sparkly actually finish, and a black pick guard, black pickups. It was really good. And it had locking tuners on it. So I played that guitar for about 4 years, and I liked the humbucker in the bridge for some rock stuff. But I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go for the Strat and try it out because I think actually my friend who played drums got a Strat from his grandma or something. He played guitar too, for fun, not as intensely as I was, but his grandma just bought him a nice Strat. So I was like, yeah, I like this Strat. We would jam and stuff. He also had an SG. Actually, I think he had a Gibson SG, which was really nice, one of the cheapest ones, but I liked it. But the Strat, I was like, ooh, this is comfy. So I got that, and I kind of, that's where I think I really did fall in love with Strats. The next one is a Fender made in Mexico Texas Special Strat. Now, I'm not sure exactly if that's what it's called. I remember it very well because I played it so many times, but I just don't remember what the actual model was called. And this was in Dakota Red with that brown sort of tortoiseshell style pickguard. You probably know what that pickguard looks like. It had noiseless pickups, older ones, so they didn't sound very good, but they were noiseless, which is actually really important for me playing theater. If you listen, if you show up to a theater gig with a tube amp, you're gonna get shot in the head. And if you have vintage pickups that have 60 cycle hum, you're gonna get in trouble. I know that people love vintage pickups. I do too, but I gotta use noiseless. If you are buzzing, the sound engineers are gonna trace it back to you, and you're gonna get a talking to, and they don't care how they don't go, oh, they're vintage. Okay, you know what I mean? So noiseless is for me. But it also had a button on it that would do what my current Strat does, where it puts the neck in. So if in the bridge position, if you press the button, it would do the neck and the bridge, like the telly kind of sound. Or if you went to the second, it would put all three in. So it was pretty cool. It had gold hardware. It played really well. It had great fret ends. It was a good guitar. I played it for many years. I think I wrote 2012 to like 2018 or so, 19. I played it for a long time. And as a matter of fact, that was my friend's guitar. The Strat that he got that I really fell in love with, he just said, yeah, you can just borrow it. He goes, actually, do you want to trade me for your Paul Reed Smith? He goes, we don't have to do it permanently. We can switch back whenever, but do you want to give me your PRS? Because he liked metal and stuff, so he really liked the PRS. I used the Strat, and I ended up just keeping it for years. Yeah, so that was that. The next, I got an Ibanez acoustic. It was a laminate acoustic, a cheapo acoustic, and I traded my old digital piano to a guy in college. This was in 2011, I think. Around there, 2011, 2012, I traded him my digital piano for his acoustic because I really wanted acoustic at the time that had pickups in it or something because of all these pit gigs I was doing. It was getting to the point where it wasn't always viable for me to rely on my acoustic being mic'd. Sometimes I would show up to smaller sorts of community gigs where they just weren't going to do that, and then I'd be stuck with a acoustic, which no one's going to hear. So I really needed something with a pickup in it that I could run through an amp or something. And so I traded for that. I got the guitar, took it home. It was useless. He goes, oh, it was set up. It's great. It plays great. It's set up like a beauty. And it was awful. It might have been one of the worst guitars I ever played. I just thought, okay, well, I just gave this guy my piano for free. Never touched the guitar. It wasn't even worth setting up. That's that. Sometimes these things happen. My next guitar was another made in Mexico Fender Telly. This was a butterscotch, my favorite Telly color, and it had a reverse control plate on it. So if I'm correct, because I don't play Tellys too often anymore, I think that the volume control is closest to you, right? Isn't on a Telly the volume is back and the pickup selector is closest to you? Well, the volume was closest to me. I played that guitar for about 1 year. And I played it for a country show. And I have to say it rocked for the country show. Why didn't I keep it? I don't know. But that's what I played. I played it for a country musical, and it was really good for that. I took a solo on that show that I still, not to like showboat or anything, but I think it's one of the coolest solos I ever took off the cuff because I'm not a country guitar player. And one night during the show, there's a big section where they're all dancing. It's a big old dance number, and the fiddle's going nuts. And there's this long, like 32 bar guitar solo. And I'm not a country player, but I just was like, one night, I don't know, I was just having a good night, or maybe I had a beer or something before the show, but I played a great solo, and it got recorded, and I transcribed the solo way later in my life. And yeah, I played it on that telly, so it was pretty cool. My next guitar was in 2013. It was an Ibanez Cutaway classical guitar. Wanted a classical for musicals so I could have that pretty classical sound to play single lines. It was a cheap guitar. It wasn't very good, but it did have electronics. It was a cedar top guitar. Again, a laminate guitar. It wasn't solid wood, but it was pretty good, and it served my uses, so I played that for a while. The next guitar was a Sterling Silo 30, and it was black with that white pearloid kind of pickguard. Uh, 2014, I got that, and Sterling. I'm sure a lot of you folks know that brand. They are like a subdivision of Music Man. You could think of them as like what Squire is to Fender, and it was a great guitar. It had a beautiful neck on it. It was HSS. It had a very good trem system. The neck was really good on it, though, really nice. It was set up very well, and I played that for shows. That took the place of my Strat for a while, and I played that for Hair, the musical. If you ever, you should check the Hair out if you don't know what that is. But yeah, I played that guitar. I did the Hendrix thing on that for a while, and it was cool. And Sterling still makes guitars, but they're different now. They have like the Sterling sub. So if you try to find the Silo guitar, which I think is called the Silhouette in Music Man's, but they're like $4,000, so I'm not getting one of those. But they're cheaper now, so it's not the same, and they don't make it anymore. You can find it anywhere from $300 to $600 on Reverb or eBay or something. But it was a great guitar. I played it for a while. The next guitar was a Siegel S6 original acoustic. This is a laminate guitar. It had cherry back and sides and a cedar top, but it wasn't, real wood, solid wood. But I got that to have like a nice acoustic. It was like $400, which was a lot to me, but that guitar served me very well. I still have it, and I actually have played it on gigs still. It's now my backup acoustic. I played the hell out of it, and I put in I think I put in a Seymour Duncan mag mic system into it, so it has a pickup under the sound hole, but it also has a mic in it, so you can blend in, and it sounds pretty good. So I played that guitar a lot. I actually played that guitar last year in a like 2,500 seat theater, so it sounded good, for being so cheap in that kind of space. My next guitar, I'm sorry this is going on so long, but hey, there's like 30 guitars. It was a Cordoba Classical. I wanted to upgrade my Classical to something a little better, so I got like a $750 cedar guitar. I love the cedar for the classical guitars. I'm all about the warm sound. I'm not big on bright stuff unless I'm playing the bridge on a Strat. Then I like the sparkle. Yeah, it had, I want to say it had like Fishman preamp in it. Got that in 2014. Same deal. I played it for musicals and stuff. I was doing a lot of musicals that were all acoustic and didn't call for any like electric guitar. So there was stuff, like that. And similarly, I got an Ibanez mandolin at the same time. It was another, cheapo one. It had a pickup in it, so I could plug it in. So I was just using those two in conjunction. Like I played like Fiddler on the Roof with it and stuff whenever it was called for. My next guitar was a disappointing one, and it might come as a shock to some folks, but it was a G&L. Now, G&L is known for being pretty good. A lot of people will recommend it over Fender because it's the company that Leo Fender eventually ended up on, and where he wanted the evolution of the Strat to go. However, this particular one was not good. It was a G&L Legacy Tribute, so it wasn't one of the expensive ones. It was a tobacco burst with a black pickguard, and I believe it was an SSS. It was my first. No, it wasn't my first. That Texas Special one was SSS, but it was SSS. It was just made horribly. I played it for 2 musicals, and I played it for a couple gigs, and it was so bad. It just had so many issues. It reminded me of my early guitars because the nut was cut so improperly. There was many build quality issues, rattle, just everything about it was wrong. It played so poorly. I never could get it intonated, and I was bringing it to different luthiers to try to have them work on it, and they were trying to do different things. One guy put a bone nut in and did the nut, and that fixed some of the issues, but then it just never got there. So I just retired that guitar. My next guitar wasn't until 2017, and it was a Gibson Joe Bonamassa Les Paul Gold Top. So nice guitar, expensive one. I got this from my buddy who was getting rid of it. That guitar was actually called Coco because the case it came in, the previous owner, before he had it, spilled coffee or hot chocolate or something in the case. So it had a white plush interior and there was a chocolate stain. Let's assume it was chocolate, but that's why we call it Coco. That was a great guitar. I did part ways with it because the Les Paul thing, I just, wasn't for me. However, the one issue with it, it played great, everything. I loved the scale length. It had EMGs in it. And they were high output, like metal EMGs, not my style anymore at this point. And I don't know why someone would take that guitar, but Joe's a blues player, blues rock. But that's what they did, and of course I could have changed the pickups out, but yeah, it was like really high output pickups. I mean, you would put like a tube screamer on just a little bit and it would like sear into like metal territory. So that guitar did come in handy because I did play the show Rock of Ages in 2017, 18, around there, which is a metal show. It's all 80s hair metal songs. And it ripped for that show, so I used it for that. And I also got another guitar I used once. Really, really cheap Jackson. I don't remember the model number, but it was a Jackson like DK24 Dinky or something like that. And it was a purple sparkle, and I had a Floyd Rose. I got that. It wasn't a good guitar. It was really cheap. I got it for the show for Rock of Ages because they wanted some like crazy hair metal guitar. I was like, okay, well, buy it for me. They wouldn't, so I just was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get a cheapo little one. So I basically played that for like the opening number. The opening of Rock of Ages, there's it's like Nothing But a Good Time or something like that, or Almost Paradise. I don't remember what the opening number is, but when the show opens, instead of an overture, the band starts ripping, and the guitar player, the lead player, comes down on his knees with long hair, which I have kind of long hair now, but I had like hair down to my waist at the time. And they put a fan on me and a spotlight on me, and I was like doing this tapping solo. So it looked really cool for that. I only played it for that show and retired it. I also learned I never want a Floyd Rose guitar. Not for me, no thanks. My next thing was a Lohr solid top mandolin. So it wasn't a solid wood mandolin, but the top was solid wood. I don't remember what model it was, but it was an A model. And it was pretty good. I got it with a friend who was a guy that I would also normally ask to play like second guitar or something. He was an amazing musician, really, really astute musician. But he's like, let's split it. And, it was like $450 or something. So we split it between the two and we're like, we'll have shared custody of it. So I played that for a bit. Let's see. I also had a vintage banjo for a while. It wasn't mine, it was my friend's. Well, he wasn't a guitarist, but he had a lot of like cool old vintage instruments, wacky ones. And he had an old banjo that he let me borrow for shows. He was the music director on these shows, so he was like, yeah, just use this. So I used his banjo for a while. I don't have it anymore. Okay, we're getting to the end. The next guitar I got was another Mando. It was an Eastman MD305 mandolin, which is solid spruce and maple. I got that a couple of years ago. I still have it. I play it all the time. I'll be playing it for the next gig. And I just like it. I would like to maybe upgrade it a little. Eastman guitars, they're a Chinese company. They're probably one of the best companies right now in the market. They don't make like Strat style guitars, which is the only reason I haven't fully committed and like given myself to this company, which I don't really like to do. I always like to shop around and play different brands and stuff. But Eastman rocks. They hand make most of their stuff. They French polish like their vintage style guitars. They make Les Pauls though. So if you like Les Pauls, buy a fucking Eastman. Don't buy a Gibson, buy an Eastman. It'll knock your socks off. Their guitars are ripping. They also make archtop guitars. They make like ES335 copies. Their guitar quality is second to none. Their Mando quality is second to none. They originally started as a string instrument company making violins and basses and stuff, which they still do, and I've heard that they're pretty good. But because that they French polish their violins and things like that, they taught their guitar department how to French polish their guitars. So if you've ever seen one of these Eastman antique like Les Pauls in person, it's absolutely gorgeous. And vintage relic guitars are very popular right now. And some companies do it really well, some don't. Fender doesn't do it well. It looks like somebody took a jackhammer to a guitar. Eastman's one of those companies that does an exceptional job where it's not overdone. It just simply looks like somebody's had it for 40 years before you. That's a rant about Eastman, but I can't say enough good things about them. My next guitar, and these are all stuff you've probably seen on my last video, is my Harley Benton PRS semi-hollow knockoff. I got that in 2020. It's over here, but you want to watch my last video, I talk about that. It's a good beater guitar. Then I got my Fred Dockstar Flame Maple, which I also showed. I don't play that one much because it's built terribly, but I got it. Next, I got a Gold Tone banjo for playing shows. A middle-of-the-road model, not their cheapest one, but not like a $2,000 one. And I play the banjo in Chicago tuning because I don't really know how to play bluegrass banjo too well. But I do play a lot of in musicals I play like Chicago and ragtime, Dixieland style ragtime banjo, jazz banjo, stuff that would probably be played on a tenor banjo, but I play that in Chicago tuning. So yeah, that's why I got that. And it's pretty good. I do need to take it into the shop. As a matter of fact, I wanted to show you, it's right here. Not the nicest banjo ever made, but it's actually pretty nice. It does not have a resonator, but it's actually made pretty well. It's comfortable to play. It's very loud, has a good sound. I don't really have too many complaints. I have my Squier HSS Strat, that red one I showed off in the last video. I got that last year. My uncle gave it to me. Then last November, I got an Eastman E20D, which is an Eastman acoustic guitar, a Dreadnought. I got that mainly as my main acoustic guitar. It's probably the nicest instrument I own. Again, talking about Eastman, oh my God, they don't mess around. People have said that these are kind of, they do vintage style things, so they're trying to go for that old Martin thing. Some people say that they're more voiced towards like a Collings guitar, just for a hell of a lot cheaper. Collings guitars can be well over $5,000. I think my Eastman was like 1,700 or something like that. So it's an Adirondack spruce top and a rosewood back and sides. It's fully, totally solid wood. You can feel that just from picking it up. The build quality is immaculate on it. The fret ends are perfect. It was intonated perfectly. It was set up perfectly. You can just feel it's solid wood, and you can just hear it. It resonates I actually, as a matter of fact, going on a little tangent, I'm sorry we're going on so long, but I have to tell you, I was playing that guitar for a while. Now, I just did a run of Jersey Boys that was like 2 months long. So I played my Eastman for that, and the battery died because I had a LR Baggs Anthem SL system installed in it, which I know some people would say, excuse me, I'm putting my slippers on here, old man Harry over here. Some people would say putting a pickup system in a nice guitar like that is heresy, but again, I play musical theater. They're not miking your acoustic. It's very unlikely. So I got that in there, and it does change it a little bit, but not too much. It's a great system. Anyways, to change the battery in there, you have to stick your hand in and undo this Velcro thing. So it died mid show, during a rehearsal, during a break. So I had to go grab my old Seagull as a backup for the rest of the day. And I'm like, oh man, this Seagull feels like a toy compared to this. So I love my Eastman. Then I got the Fender Player Plus Strat, the blue one I showed off in the last video. That's my main workhorse guitar. Then I got my Yamaha Pacifica 612, which I also showed off. I literally just showed off in this video. And that's it. That's all my guitars. I have basses too, but I didn't list them because I don't know why I didn't. Maybe we'll do that for a different one. But that's it. Long video. Thanks for sticking around. But those are all the guitars I've had. Peace out. Have a great day. Hey, tell me what guitars you have right now. Have you ever had a great guitar that you really love that you don't have anymore? Let me know. I hope you're all doing well. Keep playing. Rock on. Have a great day. Peace out.